Hello BookTube, this is Kelly. Thank you so much for watching my channel, Books I'm Not Reading. Today I am doing a very late TBR on a 2020 nonfiction reading project created by Natalie at Curious Reader, and it's called, appropriately, Curious Adventure. So she created 12 fantastic prompts for reading nonfiction throughout the year of 2020. Unfortunately, I am focused on really reading books that I already own this year. That's a project called A Year of Reading One's Own, and we're not buying any books with the exception of 2 books. My husband and I were not buying any books this year, and we're also really only using the library for very specific purposes that we decided before the start of the year. So a couple of these prompts, I don't really own anything that fits in that category, so I've doubled up in some of the other categories to make sure that there's at least 12 books in this. So the first one is read about a local celebrity / specialty. You choose the level of locality. So the first one is Rising from the Plains by John McPhee. I chose to focus this one on my state, and this is about the geology of Wyoming and the West. And John McPhee travels with a geologist across the state. And so anyway, yeah, it sounds like a great book. I really do like John McPhee's writing. The other one is by Ken Mansfield, and this is called Between Wyomings. The subtitle is My God and an iPod on the Open Road, and the back says, sometimes the distance between your mind and your heart adds up to 3 months, 10,000 miles, and 30 years of rock and roll. I think he is a music producer. I'm not exactly sure, but it's kind of a memoir, and it sounds like he takes a giant road trip across Wyoming. So I thought that was kind of cool. Number 2, read about an experience different from your own, anything different from your own circumstances. I have talked about this book on my channel, and a ton of you have given me great feedback. And of course, this is Trevor Noah's Born a Crime, and it's his stories from a South African childhood. So I'm a big Trevor Noah fan, and I'm really looking forward to reading this book this year. Number 3, celebrate something you love by learning more about it. And yeah, this could be a hobby, a place, music. So for this one, I picked Raising the Bar, and that's ballet bar. Big Dreams, False Starts, and My Midlife Quest to Dance in the Nutcracker by Kessler. And I really love dance. I grew up taking dance lessons. My sister studied dance in graduate school, actually. I had an internship at Dance Magazine, so it's always been just something that I've really loved. And especially the Nutcracker, right? which pays for all the other ballets a company does in the year. That's why they do the Nutcracker. But anyway, so I'm planning on reading this one in December. I think that'll be a lot of fun. All right. Number 4, read a collection of short writings that have, at least in part, been previously published elsewhere. So for this is a familiar book you've seen on this channel, Gloria Steinem's Outrageous Acts and Everyday Rebellions, and I'll be doing a review of this soon, but this is a collection of essays from her time as a reporter and as an editor at Ms. Magazine. So we'll talk a lot about that one more later. All right, number 5, read a book about an activity / craft and then go try that thing. Anything connecting you with reading to a real life experience. The example Natalie uses was like, read a book about walking and then go for a walk, which sounds crazy, but I actually have read books about walking. So I thought that was great. So for this one, I'm going to do a great booktube recommendation. I've heard so many good things about this. My Life with Bob by Pamela Paul, and the subtitle is Flawed Heroine Keeps Book of Books, which is what she calls it Bob, and plot ensues. And again, this is something that I've heard so many wonderful things on booktube about that I need to read it. Browse a nonfiction shelf and choose a book you've either never heard of or something that grabs your attention. So this is a little bit tricky for me because, again, I am quite familiar with our nonfiction books. This isn't all of them. There's more across the room there. But this one, since it's in hardcover, I'm assuming that it must have grabbed my attention at the time I bought it, because normally I prefer to buy things in paperback. This is Broken, a Love Story by Lisa Jones. It's a horse book, and I believe it does take place in Wyoming. So anyway, I have, unfortunately, I have heard some mixed reviews of this book, so I want to read it though, and decide for myself. Number 7, time travel. If you could live in any era, which would it be, and read a book about some aspect of it? So I don't know that I would want to necessarily live in Regency England, but I sure as heck would love to spend a day with Jane Austen, or a week. Maybe I could handle that. And this year I am so excited. I've been just kicked myself in the foot the last 2 years. I missed Jane Austen July. I don't know how, but I did. But not this year. I have multiple biographies on Jane Austen, so that might be fun to get to. But the one I'm going to share with you today is Among the Janeites by Deborah, and I apologize, Yaffe, I'm not sure. But this is about the super fans of Jane Austen. And the subtitle is A Journey Through the World of Jane Austen Fandom. So that sounds like a fantastic, fantastic time to me. Number 8, pick up a nonfiction and fiction pair on any topic to read together. So for this, I'm going to go to Tim O'Brien, who had already planned on reading these books this year. I planned on, one of my goals is to read all the books that we own by Tim O'Brien. I've already read one this year, and one of them happens to be a nonfiction book, which is If I Die in a Combat Zone, and this is his memoir of his time in Vietnam. And the other one is a novel called July. So I'm sure you'll be hearing more about these in my next TBR video. Number 9, dig deeper into your past. Pick up a book that somehow is related to your childhood, growing up, something that makes you feel nostalgic. And so I have 2 books again for this one. The first one is by Deborah Marquart, excuse me. It's called The Horizontal World. So this is cover, and growing up wild in the middle of nowhere. And I certainly know, even though this book takes place in North Dakota, what it's like to feel like you're growing up in the middle of nowhere. And so there's that one. And the second one is called A Buffalo in the House. The extraordinary story of Charlie and his family. You can see person to buffalo size there. I do love wildlife, but I also have a healthy dose of respect for them. And that came about in large part because of a buffalo. When I was in the 1st grade, we went to the zoo in another city because there was no zoo in my town, and I'm not really a big fan of zoos anymore anyway. But I, for some reason, decided to taunt the buffalo. I don't know what I was thinking. But anyway, the buffalo sauntered over to me, stuck his horns through the giant chain link fence, and shook the whole thing. It was like the fence was moving in waves. And my 1st grade teacher was like, all right, let's move along. But anyway, so that was like a real life lesson early on about, yeah, wildlife is cool to see, but let's keep our distance and be respectful. So that's what I chose for that category. Now 10 and 11 are two, again, just not a good fit for me this particular year, but they are really cool prompts. Number 10 is read graphic nonfiction. We do own nonfiction graphic novels in the house, but I have read them, so I don't have anything that fits that category. And the other one, number 11, is explore a new to you press/publisher of nonfiction. And again, these are books that I own, I purchased, Jason bought for me, so it's not, none of them are new to me, and many of them I've owned far too long. I really need to read more than 12 of these this year. Finally, number 12, adventures help us learn about the world by adventures help us learn about the world, but equally about ourselves. Pick up a book that reminds you of yourself or allows you to self-reflect. So for this, I chose something related to my faith, and this is called Inspired: Slaying Giants, Walking on Water, and Loving the Bible Again. This is by Rachel Held Evans. Unfortunately, Rachel died last year, and that was, again, sadly, like how I learned about her. But her writing sounds amazing. It sounds like she was a really incredible person, and so I definitely need some inspiration at times with my faith. So yeah, I'm really excited about this one as well as all of these. So I realize I'm late. I'm late to this, but I'm going to catch up, and I'm going to read at least 12 nonfiction books this year. Hopefully more. That would be exciting. So thank you so much for watching. Remember to be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and I will talk to you soon, BookTube.